What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Punch. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, whether you're watching us on YouTube or you are listening in on the audio version of the podcast, because we do have an audio podcast that you can get wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you subscribe. That way you can come back here every Wednesday to see what we're talking about. Kind of like this week's topic. We've got something a little bit different, based on a conversation that Charlie and I had about cocktails and movies. By the way, I am Brody, joined by
Charlie.
Yes. So Charlie and I were having a conversation about cocktails and movies. We are middle-aged men. So sometimes if it's late in the day and I want to sit and watch a movie, I might make myself a little cocktail. So I posed a challenge to Charlie and I said, Charlie, I'm going to give you a list of 15 cocktails and you need to match them up with movies. And then we decided to make an episode out of it. So here we are. Now, if you are under the age of 21, don't drink. If you are over the age of 21, please drink responsibly. That's the disclaimer for the episode. Okay? We are talking about liquor. We are talking about alcohol. So we got to put that out there. Don't drink too much, folks. It's dangerous. It's bad for you. So, all right, Charlie, how you feeling about this, man?
I'm so excited. I feel like a sommelier of a fancy restaurant here. I gotta curate all these delicious alcoholic drinks with delicious movie picks. I'm really excited. And look, if you're at home watching this and you're thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a little solo movie night with a nice cocktail. Maybe this will inspire you with some ideas. Also, nice themed parties if you want to have a little get together, or just a romantic night with your significant other. A little bit of movie, alcoholic drink kind of combination can make a night sparkle, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make your night sparkle, like only Talk Punch can.
So sparkly.
Sparkles.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited for this. It's a little bit different format. Trying something new, as we do on occasion.
We do.
Just throw in something new for the people to enjoy. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this one. Charlie, should we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Go. Here is our list. All right. So we're going to go one by one down this list. Okay. So we've got Bloody Mary, Bud Light, Cosmopolitan, Craft Beer, Dark and Stormy, Jack and Coke, Long Island Iced Tea, Manhattans, Margarita, Mimosa, Old Fashions, Pina Colada, Spiked Eggnog, Whiskey on the Rocks, and wine for our audio listeners who cannot see the screen right now. Get that out there. All right. So, Charlie, to start out, we're starting out with a Bloody Mary. Okay. Now, I'm going to give just a brief description of what these drinks are. Charlie's then going to pair it up with a movie. I might have some sort of horrible input because I tried to think of this myself, but didn't do a very good job. So that's why Charlie is doing the bulk of this. But a Bloody Mary is a cocktail containing vodka, tomato juice, and other spices and flavorings, including Worcestershire sauce, hot sauces, garlic, herbs, horseradish, celery, olives, salt, black pepper, lemon juice, lime juice, and celery salt. I've never had a Bloody Mary. I don't think I want to have a Bloody Mary. Doesn't sound good to me.
Let me tell you, a bad Bloody Mary is like drinking a giant glass of ketchup. It is not an enjoyable experience. So if you do ever decide to have one, make sure it's a good one.
All right. So Charlie, what movie did you pair up with a Bloody Mary?
Now, the obvious choice would be to go with some kind of horror movie like Carrie or something just because of the name of the drink. But we dug a little deeper.
Okay.
There was a study by Cornell University that suggested that in noisy situations, like for instance, on board a jet airliner, that your sweetness, the way that you taste sweetness is suppressed. Okay. And then the taste of like umami-rich foods like tomato juice is enhanced. So you may have just, in your life heard that Bloody Marys are better on airplanes. Scientifically proven, at least in this study by Cornell University. So I thought the perfect pairing of a Bloody Mary, it's got to be a loud movie. It's got to have airplanes in it. So there's a whole bunch of good airplane action movies out there. You can pick your favorite. Air Force One, Con Air, et cetera, lots of good ones. But the one I picked for you guys out there is Executive Decision, featuring a young Kurt Russell and Halle Berry, and a very fun Steven Seagal cameo.
Wow.
It's exciting. It's action. It's old, and it's kind of like flying on an airplane. You know, it's not it's not that it's a great movie, but you're stuck there anyway, so you might as well watch it.
It's not that old, is it?
Like 90 something.
Early 90s, I think.
Man. That's old, bro.
That wasn't that long ago.
90. All right. In the comments, make sure to tell Brody how long ago, like 1994 was, or whatever.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen Executive Decision, so I couldn't really tell you much about it. But I know what the cover looks like. All my years.
It was my favorite. Of like, there was like a slew of those on board. Like Wesley Snipes had Passenger 57.
Yeah.
This one came out, Air Force One. There's a bunch of like plane action. This is my favorite.
There you go. So, if you're having a Bloody Mary, go watch Executive Decision.
And turn that volume up. You know, get that sweetness suppressed and enjoy yourself.
It'll enhance the drink.
Maybe sit in an uncomfortable small seat. You know.
Yeah, this was one of those ones where I was like, probably a horror movie, and you nailed it on the head. I was like, Friday the 13th. Probably a horrible decision, but that's
good for parties.
That's why you're leading this list, Charlie. It's why I challenged you instead of challenging me. All right.
Fair enough.
Next up, Bud Light. Okay, now I have a definition of Bud Light, and then I have Brody's definition. So, the definition that I pulled is a light-bodied brew with a fresh, clean, and subtle hop aroma, delicate malt sweetness, and crisp finish for ultimate refreshment. I will disagree with that. You can call me a beer, and that's okay.
And I have and will, yes.
I define Bud Light as beer-flavored water. It's not good, folks. Not good. It's just definitive. All right. That's it. Beer-flavored water. That's it.
You're absolutely right. So my approach to this was to find something that on its surface seemed good at the time. You know, like you're in college, you're playing some beer pong, you're down in some Bud Light with the bros or with your pals, and it's you know it feels good at the time, and then you grow up and you mature and you look back on it and you're like, boy, you know, that's not my go-to anymore. So for me, that movie is Top Gun. You crack open some Bud Lights, you do a lot of high-fiving, you know, you have your jets flying in the air, fueling your testosterone. You got your sweaty, shirtless men high-fiving each other and playing volleyball. Very erotic, and you're drinking your Bud Lights. You maybe shotgun a few of those beers, Maverick style. You gotta say Maverick while you shotgun it, Maverick, and you put them in your ice, man.
Oh golly!
Right?
Oh Charlie! Oh man!
It's a good bro movie. I also like Point Break. You know, any of these kind of like just kind of good bro action movies. I think you could do. I mean, certainly you could do movies like Old School or other kind of movies that have a lot of drinking in them. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to pair it with movies that just kind of captured more of the attitude versus like the, you know, we're trying to be a little less on the nose here.
See, yeah, when I was just kind of picking things off the top of my head, I was like, Bud Light, like a human centipede. It's just gross. It's gross. It's gross. I want nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Oh, that's so harsh, man. I still like light beer. But admittedly, Bud Light's not my go-to, but man, human centipede.
Hey, there's good light beers out there. You get a good Pilsner, come on.
Yeah, like Kirkland Light, right?
Jeez. No. All right, moving on then. Okay, so next up, we have the Cosmopolitan. So a Cosmopolitan, or informally known as a Cosmo, is a cocktail made with vodka, triple sec, cranberry juice, and freshly squeezed or sweetened lime juice. And it's served in those, like, glasses.
Yeah. Now, The Cosmopolitan, Brody, I don't know if you know this or not, but it was invented in the mid 80s by a Miami
Okay.
bartender named Cheryl Cook when she was asked by Absolute Vodka to create a drink that would appeal to women.
Interesting.
Now she did this, and it was based off of Kamikaze, but she had her version of it, and it was okay. People liked it, sort of, but it didn't catch on nationally until the late 90s when Rainbow Room bartender Dale DeGroff, he replaced the lime with some fresh lime juice, added a flame orange twist, and it was like, and he had apparently was a very like lively bartender, like all the Tom Cruise and Cocktail.
Sure.
People came from all over to see him, and the drink blew up. So I wanted to think of a movie that maybe in its origins was designed to appeal to women, but as the movie has aged, more and more people have come to see the beauty and the intelligence that is in it. It's got some sophistication, some romance, as well as it just being kind of like a fun drink to have, so to speak.
Okay.
And the movie I settled on was Clueless. Clueless is a fantastic movie, and if you've never seen it, it's very good. When it first came out, I thought, it's just another rom-com, and then I saw it and I was like, actually pretty good. And I've enjoyed this one, rewatching this as an adult. I think there's a lot of good layers to it. It's a fine piece of cinema, much like the Cosmopolitan. It has gotten better with age, and it's not just for women, it's for everyone. Go enjoy a Cosmopolitan or some Cosmos while you watch a little Clueless. You can watch, sure, Sex in the City, other things like that. There's lots of good movies in that genre that you could pick, but this is the one I thought fit it the best.
Oh, that's a very good explanation. I have not seen Clueless.
Oh, I was gonna say they said ever.
Oh no! Of course I've seen it. Of course I've seen it. It's just been a long, long time. I do know that Paul Rudd is in that, and he looks the exact same because that guy doesn't age.
Yeah, he doesn't age.
All right. Next up, we have craft beer. Now, yes, craft beer can be any number of types of beers. Craft beer is not its own type, right? But I can't say, a hazy IPA, an imperial stout, something like that. So I just went with, as a general category, craft beer. So here was the definition that I was able to come up with. Kind of pick and choose various things throughout the internet. Beer made by a brewer that is small, independent, and is generally made from traditional ingredients like malted barley, and also interesting and sometimes non-traditional ingredients are often added for distinctiveness.
So when I think of craft beer, I think of Brody and his beer snobbery.
Yes.
I think of a guy who says definitively, if you don't like this beer, it's not the beer, it's you. And there are certainly a lot of movies out there where the expectation is, hey, if you don't like this movie, that's on you. The movie is great. And when I think of movies like that, because it's a beer, so I wanted to have a comedy that maybe you put the word sophisticated in front of it,
okay,
smart in front of it, something maybe a little smaller budget, but with a big cast. And so I thought of Wes Anderson and his mini films that have kind of that. And I put Rushmore here. Rushmore is probably my favorite of the Wes Anderson films. But a lot of his movies are kind of like the thing where if you don't like The Life Aquatic, The Pizza Sour, The Royal Tenenbaums, that's not Wes Anderson's fault. That's your fault. And so, or you could put like Juno in this category. There's a lot of like really smart comedies where people really get defensive about you not necessarily enjoying them. And look, sometimes you just want to have a Bud Light, so you pop on the easier to watch movie that just gets you the instant chuckles. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you don't want to laugh. You want to learn and laugh. This is the Frasier of comedy movies, Rushmore.
I do have to. Okay, I think Rushmore is a fine movie. I think that's a pretty good pick for craft brew. I don't think if somebody doesn't like a beer, it's not because of them. I think that they're just not having the right beer. If you like really dark beers and you go and you drink an IPA, no, you're not going to like it. If you like IPAs and you go and you drink a sour, probably not going to like it. That's not because of you. It's because of the person that's recommending the wrong beers to you. Need somebody that can recommend the right beers to you. Blame your friends.
You need the right algorithm. Yeah.
Blame your friends.
Blame the algorithm.
All right. Good choice, Charlie. I like that one. Okay, next up we have The Dark and Stormy, one of my favorites. Okay, a dark and stormy is a highball cocktail made with dark rum and ginger beer, served over ice and garnished with a slice of lime. Lime juice and a simple syrup are also frequently added. This drink is very similar to a Moscow Mule, except that the dark and stormy has dark rum instead of vodka.
Now, the name was given because of the color of the cocktail. At least the story goes, the legend goes that a sailor thought, yes, that this looks cloudy and not a kind of cloud that you like to sail under. It looks dark and stormy, right? So that's where the name apparently or allegedly originates from. It's an old drink, so we're talking mid 1800s here. So I thought dark and stormy, name given by a sailor. We got rum in the drink. It's got to be on a boat. A movie's on a boat. We need some movies on the high seas. So many good movies to choose from, but the one that I picked for our dark and stormy movie night is the best Pirates of the Caribbean. So
excellent choice.
Enjoy yourself. Some rum swilling pirates aboard the high seas, action, adventure, a little bit of romance, and some really terrible sequels to follow.
Yeah. No, I think this actually when we were putting together the list, this was what I thought of. Excellent. Okay. Dark and Stormy is also an excellent drink. Yeah, you get the ginger beer, and then you put the dark rum, and it just kind of sits on top and slowly. Does look like a storm. Mm. Yeah, pirates, man. He's always Captain Jack. He's always talking about where's the rum? Where's the rum?
Yep. Where's the rum?
You get some, especially some dark rum. You get some Kraken. So good.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got a Jack and Coke. A Jack and Coke is a highball cocktail made by mixing Jack Daniel's brand Tennessee whiskey with Coca-Cola. It is especially popular in the American South. Doesn't have to be Jack Daniel's. Doesn't have to be Coca-Cola. I actually prefer Canadian whiskey with a variety of sodas. A lot of times Coke or Coke Zero, lower the sugar.
There you go. So for this one, when you're talking about like a whiskey cola combination here, it's two very opposite beverages, right? We got something over here, the whiskey. It's strong. It's harsh. Put hair on your chest when you drink it. Like smell and inhale. Depending on the whiskey, you take a big whiff of it, and it's like you can burn your nostril hair off. And then you got the sweetness. You got the Coke. It's more whimsical. It's like from your childhood. So I wanted a movie that was like intensely serious, but that also kind of made you laugh along the way and kind of had some good funny moments in it. So the movie that I settled on was Goodfellas. It kind of has that old timey like whiskey feel, like the throwback to the days of Sinatra and that kind of gang. But plenty of laughs along the way. This is not one of the more serious. I mean, it's a serious mob thing. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
But I think there's a lot more lightheartedness in the mix of all this really serious. But when it's serious, it's serious. So whether it's Canadian whiskey in your cup or some Jack Daniels, this is not a drink for children, nor is this a movie for children.
Absolutely.
But it's a great one to have seen. Everyone's had, I shouldn't say everyone's had a Jack and Coke, but I think it's a very popular drink. A lot of people have tried it. Goodfellas, popular movie. A lot of people have seen it. Well liked across the board by critics and by fans. So a good one to pair with nice Jack and Coke movie night. Put on the Goodfellas. Have a good time.
Go.
And don't forget, Samuel L. Jackson's in that. He's in everything.
Is he really in that?
Yeah. He's in everything, bro.
He is in everything. All right, next up, we have the Long Island Ice or iced tea. It can go either way. So a Long Island iced tea is a type of cocktail typically made from vodka, tequila, light rum, triple sec, gin, and a splash of cola, which gives the drink the same amber hue as iced tea.
All right, so this cocktail gets I was reading online about just like the origin and what people's views on it, and there's a pretty wide variety. People really love it or they really hate it.
Really?
Because there's so many ingredients in it, and the making of it can be cumbersome, or especially in if you imagine a busy bar going on or something like that. And so it's kind of polarizing, I think is a good way to say that. So I wanted to think of a movie that maybe has a polarizing effect on people, that had a lot of complicated storylines, all kind of interlocking, a big ensemble cast, something that, that I think you could kind of like. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino came to mind.
Okay.
And the movie that I picked was Pulp Fiction. It's got a lot of different, big time actors in it, all put into one movie. You got your four brothers, so to speak. You toss them into the mix there. Another Sam L. Jackson. You can't get enough of Sammy J. And I personally love Long Island iced teas. And I personally enjoyed Pulp Fiction, right? So you can't go wrong unless you hate it, in which case I totally understand. But you get totally hammered on Long Island iced teas. They're what's the word? Indulgent. It's a lot of booze, right? Pulp Fiction's gratuitous. There's a lot of violence, a lot, it's over the top. So I thought this is a nice pairing. You get your Long Island iced tea, you watch some Pulp Fiction, and just indulge.
That's an excellent way. All right, next up we have the Manhattan. So a Manhattan is a cocktail made with whiskey, sweet vermouth, and bitters. While rye is the traditional whiskey of choice, other commonly used whiskeys include Canadian whiskey, bourbon, blended whiskey, and Tennessee whiskey.
Now, this one, like I know I said, try to be a little less on the nose. It's hard to get away from the name of this drink. It's kind of like the drink equivalent to a love letter to New York, which is why I went with the movie widely considered to be a love letter to New York, and that's Woody Allen's Annie Hall. Now, this is an old movie, but again, if you look up just like sophisticated comedies, this might be the one that's at the top of most people's lists. Very like talky, and Diane Keaton is like fantastic in it. Look, it's an older movie. It's from the 70s, but Manhattan's not exactly like I don't picture that as a young person's drink. So you can kind of get a taste of sophistication. You have pinkies out on a nice Manhattan, sip it, and then watch a little Annie Hall. And bro, you mentioned you've never seen this, right?
I've never seen this before.
If I had to pick one Woody Allen film, and there's no reason why I ever would, this would be the one. Okay. Woody Allen's a little gross, but this is probably his best movie. So if you can stomach him and stomach it, I think it's a good. Just focus on Diane Keaton. She's wonderful. She has aged beautifully, and like just as a human being and as an actress. And Pinky's out for Diane Keaton. Watch a little Annie Hall. I also would accept Muppets Take Manhattan.
That one.
A lot of good New York. There's When Harry Met Sally's got anything with a lot of good New York landscape in it, architecture, buildings. There's an endless stream of movies that you could find that fit that bill. So
yeah, I was surprised you didn't
out, folks.
You didn't just go with Manhattan.
Nah.
That's another one.
No, we're trying to avoid the name in the movie if possible.
Okay, next up we have the Margarita. A margarita is a cocktail consisting of tequila, orange liqueur, and lime juice, often served with salt on the rim of the glass. The drink is served shaken with ice, blended with ice, or without ice. Charlie?
Now, so margaritas are. So this one I went a little more personal on. For me, okay. This is like one of my go-to like drinks and gatherings, parties. It's my wife's favorite drink. She has her own version of it that we affectionately call an Amy Rita, where she does some different ingredients into it. And so we have these in groups. We have them at restaurants. They're a nice treat, very social drink for us. So I wanted to think of a movie that had like a social flair, but also we have these on our honeymoon. There's an association of beach to it, and certainly there's some roots that I've completely ignored in terms of the origin of the drink. But I went with Weekend at Bernie's, which is the ultimate beach party movie. If you drink too, like margaritas, it's like a good comedy, right? You drink them, but be careful, because too much tequila and you'll end up like Bernie. You'll be out, and then your friends will have to walk you around like Bernie all night. So don't get lulled in by the sweetness. There's if they're made right, they have plenty of punch to them too. Sure. Just like Weekend at Bernie's. Don't be Bernie. Be Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman. It's better.
See, for this, I would have chosen Broken Lizard's Club Dread.
Oh gosh, that's such a bad movie.
Because Coconut Pete loved the song Margaritaville.
Are
Come
you
on.
still stubbornly hanging on to that being a good movie after all these years?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, all right.
All the Broken Lizards.
I haven't.
All the
I
Broken
haven't seen it
Lizards
since you
movies are
showed it to
great.
me all those years ago.
All the Broken Lizard
All right,
movies are
fair
great. Okay, next up, we've got the Mimosa. A mimosa is composed of champagne and chilled citrus juice, usually orange juice unless otherwise specified. It is traditionally served in a tall champagne flute at brunch, at weddings, or as part of a business or first-class service on passenger railways and airlines.
Now, I could have gone with something fancy for this because mimosas I think
That
have
would make sense.
because of the champagne element.
Yeah.
But I decided I wanted to focus more on the two ingredients here. You have your orange juice, which is like a drink that you're first introduced to when you're very young. You've got your champagne, which is a celebratory drink that you're introduced to once you're of drinking age. And you kind of pair those together. So I wanted to think of a movie that like I watched and enjoyed as a child, that I can now watch and enjoy as an adult, and it has new layers to it, new comedy to it, new meaning to it. So the movie that I settled on was Clue. It's the
Excellent
perfect
choice.
put on in the morning to start your day kind of movie. Sip a mimosa, you got Clue on in the background. I loved this when I was a kid. I didn't understand a lot of the jokes. I showed this to my kids. They didn't understand some of the jokes. They're walking around, and now I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife. They don't, they're quoting it. They don't understand it. It's great. And someday they'll watch it when they're adults, and they'll be like, all right. So that's what that was all about. But it's a fun movie. It's a great one to have on in the background. You don't even have to pay close attention to it. You can just enjoy it and sip on your delicious mimosa.
Oh, excellent
Celebrate.
choice. Excellent choice. Next up, we have the Old Fashioned, which is a cocktail made by muddling sugar with bitters and water, adding whiskey and garnishing with orange twist or zest and a cocktail cherry. It is traditionally served in an old-fashioned glass, which predated the cocktail. All right, Charlie.
So
What do you got?
So I know this one has old in the title and fashion, old fashioned. So I want to obviously it gets your mind thinking of old fashioned movies, but also its origins are like in the early 1800s.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been around a long time. So I wanted to think of an old movie, and westerns came to mind, and something that you could go. So the old fashioned is something you go out to a bar and you can really enjoy, but it's actually not that complicated of a drink to make at home either. So I wanted to think of a movie that had you seen it in the theater, you would have had a great experience seeing the theater and it would have been great, but also on the small screen translated really nicely. So I picked one of my favorite all-time westerns, Tombstone.
Great choice.
With Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell and a whole bunch of good cast mates, but just a lot of good classic quotable lines. I think a good movie for a gathering, or if you've just never seen it, worth watching. You make yourself an old fashioned and enjoy yourself an old fashioned western. I didn't want to do anything too serious. I think old fashions are delicious, but they're not like like you don't put on Unforgiven. Don't put on some sad western that makes it real sad. Old fashioned is it's a delicious drink. You want something that a movie that leaves a good taste in your mouth when it's done, not one that makes you want to go ride a horse slowly off into oblivion.
This is a great show. I haven't seen Tombstone in a long time. I should watch it again. I loved it as a kid. All right, next up we have the Pina Colada. So, the Pina Colada is a cocktail made from rum, cream of coconut or coconut milk, and pineapple juice, usually served either blended or shaken with ice. It may be garnered with either a pineapple juice wedge, maraschino cherry, or both. There are two versions of the drink, both originating in Puerto Rico.
Now, yeah, this was named like the official drink of Puerto Rico in the 70s, which is fantastic.
They're delicious. I love pina coladas so much.
Well, if you like pina coladas, you're going to love my movie choice here for you. So I viewed pina coladas and margaritas as like two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
And because of again, personal context,
Sure.
The first pina colada I ever had was on my honeymoon. And so I feel like a romance to it. There's a whole song about if you like pina coladas. And it's like, a love song of,
Sure.
well, it's actually a really weird song, really odd song. But that's neither here nor there. But so there's like a romance to it. So I wanted to come up with a nice beach. We had our beach party movie with Weekend at Bernie's, and this
Sure.
is like the beach romance movie. Lots of good ones to choose from. Actually, just recently watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall. there's some other fun ones, but the one I settled on was Adam Sandler's and Drew Barrymore's 50 First Dates. Partially because I asked my wife which one she liked better between a few, and that's the one that she picked. But also just because it's a really good date movie. It's cute. I did not care for Adam Sandler when I was younger, but there's a sweet spot where he made just a small pocket of movies that I'm like, those are good.
Yeah.
And then he came out with the grown-up stuff, and I was back out again. But there's a pocket, and I think this one's really cute and really sweet. And as a bonus, because I got to plug my TV shows on this podcast, it is in the pilot episode of Upload. In the future, someone's watching a clip of 50 First Dates in the first episode. It's a very good TV show. Season 2 of Upload was awesome. Watch Upload.
Interesting.
Because I want a third season. Everybody watch it. Amazon Prime. Watch it.
Sounds good. All right, next up we have the spiked eggnog. One of my eggnog being one of my favorite drinks in all of history. So eggnog, historically known as milk punch or an egg milk punch when alcoholic beverages are added, is a rich, chilled, sweetened, dairy-based beverage. It is traditionally made with milk, cream, sugar, egg yolks, and whipped egg whites, and can be mixed with rum, brandy, whiskey, cognac, or a mixture of all of eggnog.
Look, this had to be a Christmas movie.
Has to be.
Because much like Eggnog, which only comes out around the holidays, we have a catalog of movies that we only pull out around the holidays. Now, because it's spiked, I wanted to pick a Christmas movie that had a little bit more of an adult tint to it. So the one I settled on was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's not necessarily one that you want to watch with the young children, but it's one that you can kind of enjoy with. You get some spike eggnog going. You watch it with some adults, and you enjoy yourself a nice spiked Christmas film with a nice spiked Christmas beverage.
And they drink eggnog in a very great scene, and they have the little moose. Yeah, I showed my kids this, and then when the pool scene came up, I was like, "Oh, isn't she silly? She's supposed to have a bathing suit on." And they were like, "Huh."
Classic dadding right
there. All right. Next up, we have whiskey on the rocks. Whiskey, or whiskey, spelled it right, is a type of distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain mash. Various grains are used for different varieties, including barley, corn, rye, and wheat. Whiskey is typically aged in wooden casks and are often old sherry casks, or may also be made of charred white oak. And whiskey on the rocks is just whiskey over ice.
Yep.
Simple.
And so no sweetener here, right? So earlier I was talking about Jack and Coke, and actually whiskey with a little bit of water. That was like Frank Sinatra's favorite beverage. So I pictured a movie from that same era, so that without the humor, without the lightness to it, just something that is just a more serious tone thing. I would accept, Donnie Brasco, or there's a whole bunch of movies that I think fit this. The Departed. But the one I picked on was Godfather Part 2, Part Deuce. You get your Bobby De Niro, your Al Pacino. You watch a very serious mobster film, and you enjoy yourself a very serious beverage. A little swirl it. You got to swirl a little bit. You got to
melt the ice a little bit. You got to get that. You got to water it down just a bit.
You could go a lot of different directions with this. You can have any just invite your friends over and say, "Hey, look, we're gonna watch a very serious movie. We're not gonna laugh. I don't even want to see you smile. We're gonna drink straight whiskey, and we're just gonna sit silently for 3 hours and watch Godfather 2. We're gonna have a great time." That's my recommendation. That'd be a great party.
It sounds like a blast. All right, and finally we have wine. Wine is an alcoholic drink typically made from fermented grapes. Yeast consumes the sugar in the grapes and converts it into ethanol and carbon dioxide, releasing heat in the process. Different varieties of grapes and strains of yeast are major factors for different styles of wine.
This was absolutely the hardest one, and because there's just so many different types of wine. This would just be like the equivalent of you writing beer on the list. without any other specifications. Not a cocktail, just a very large brand. So I thought, let's go back to the origins of wine. Now you could look, wine and Nancy Myers pairs very well. Wine in a lot of different. You could really pick, if you like wine. You just pick a movie you like and you drink it with wine. You're all set. But I wanted to kind of, maybe you're not a wine drinker. Wine is a sipping beverage. So I wanted a long movie. And I wanted to go back to something, wine goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans here. So I wanted something kind of with that kind of throwback to ancient times here. So, but I didn't want it to be, too serious. Like, I don't picture myself drinking a delicious Merlot while watching, Gladiator or something like that. And, it's all too seriously toned. Sure. So I wanted something that might also make me laugh. There's a little bit of romance, action, some mystical elements. So I went with the Lord of the Rings here. So you pick your favorite Lord of the Rings movie and you pour yourself a glass of wine. Actually, you probably need an entire bottle if you want to make it through one Lord of the Rings movie. Maybe 3 to 4 if you want to watch the whole trilogy. Yeah, just a box of wine from Albertsons, and just put a sippy straw on the side and just go to town. But that's kind of where I landed on this. It has that kind of olden timey sword. You get sword fights, and you get a lot of the good elements without it being too overly seriously toned. But this one you could really put in any movie you like goes with wine.
That's true. I threw you a hardball on this one. Threw you a fastball. I don't know what a hardball is. Hardball's a glass. A highball, hardball. I don't know. I gave you a tough one with wine. I wanted to see what you'd come up with. There it is. I think you nailed it. I think Lord of the Rings is an excellent pick for wine. Because you can imagine the hobbits. I believe they drank more beer, but they probably.
Yeah, they like ale and stuff, but but come on now. Everybody loves wine.
All right. Well, Charlie.
Brody, I don't know.
I like wine. All right. Charlie, you did an excellent job on this. I commend you, for your picks.
I commend you for your picks.
You faced my challenge
your alcohol picks.
And exceeded my challenge. You nailed it. You hit it out of the park. Great job.
It's the nicest thing he's ever said to me. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If we didn't do some of your favorite alcoholic cocktails or even non-alcoholic cocktails, let us know in the comments below, and we will comment back with a movie suggestion for you. So if you have some ingredients you're covered and you just want to maybe you want a gin and tonic or you want a this or that, you put it in the comments and we will give you a movie suggestion to go alongside it. Speaking of perfect pairings, we here at Talk Tuck Punch perfectly paired together one another. Watch some of our other videos and see for yourself. And make sure you click below that glorious beard for some like and subscribes.
Down here. All right.
And we'll see you next time.
See you guys later.